Grand Rising, everyone. I wanted to continue my series on Relocation Chronicles. I talked about why you might want to relocate and where you may consider relocating to. And I wanted to talk about a little bit more about how I ended up in Grenada. So, some of you may be aware that both my mother and father were born in Grenada. I was born in Brooklyn, New York. So, I want to talk a little bit about my connection to Grenada and how I ended up here. The first time that I ever came to Grenada, I was 5 years old. So, really young, not really paying attention to anything. I didn't return to Grenada until 25 years later. So, between 5 and 30, never came back. So, I finally come back at 30. And when I came back, I only spent maybe like a week or two because that was the maximum amount of time that I could spend, you know, from work. And I'm gonna be honest. Coming for 1 or 2 weeks, just real quick. Yeah, the place is pretty. It's nice. Some palm trees. The mangoes, the beach, whatever. But my mind was focused on America because by 30, totally indoctrinated, totally a part of that hamster wheel. You know, totally following that program: school, work, career, house, car, retirement, right? Bills, right? That's, you're just indoctrinated into that lifestyle. So I think after that time, I may have come back again, um, maybe 3 or 4 years later. Again, a quick and dirty, a week or two, back to the hamster wheel. So I'm going to be honest, never really made a connection with Grenada outside of all of my family is from Grenada. We grow up, in America learning Grenadian customs, food, etc., but never really having a connection to where my parents were from. Obviously, their goal was always to return to Grenada eventually. You know, they did not want to retire in America. They wanted to have the opportunity to go back home and live out the rest of their lives. So in the 90s, my mom approached me about purchasing a home, and I was okay with it. I figured, like, I'm going to help her do this thing because I figure this is a goal that she's trying to attain to go back home. So I didn't have any problem with it, but that wasn't my goal, right? My goal was to buy my own house in America, just like everybody else, and do my thing, right? So she eventually made the transition to Grenada, but shortly after coming here, she ended up getting sick and eventually she passed away in 2009. By that time, I already had my own home. I was good to go, living my own life, on the hamster wheel. I was great. Didn't even consider a life outside of anything that I was accustomed to. Around 2011, my dad calls me and says, "Hey, do you remember that you have a home in Grenada? Like, don't you think you need to go and look about it?" And I'm going to be honest with you, my mind was anywhere near thinking about what was happening here in Grenada. I'm totally married to America, married to my life, married to that hamster wheel. But I said, okay, let me come and look about this house. And that was my attitude. Let me just come and look about this house. And I'm telling you, when I got off the plane in 2011, and I want to add this, by this time I'm a teacher, so I can do more than 2 weeks. I can do maybe 2 months, right? Because during the summer, we're off during the summer. When I got off the plane in 2011 for the first time, I just felt like every problem, every worry, every concern, America, the hamster wheel, as soon as I stepped off the plane, it just felt like all of that just totally left my body. And I think for the first time, I actually opened up my eyes and I looked around and I looked at the beautiful blue sky and I just, inhaled the beautiful fresh air. And I was like, wow, this is paradise. And I started to soak in every little thing about Grenada. Like I really started to be conscious of where I was. So between 2011 and 2019, I think I would come to Grenada almost every summer. Every summer I was coming. And it's so amazing because my dad ended up passing away in 2015. And I am so grateful to him in saying to me, bring your tail down here. Because like I said, between 2011 and 2019, I was coming here every single year. And I would make sure to rent a car and drive around and really become, really start to make a connection to this place. And, I felt like there was a longing to be here, but not to the point of, you know, leave America, but make sure to come every year and really come and enjoy it. And it felt like every time it was time for me to leave, there was like this wave of sadness that would take over me. But still, go home, do what you got to do, buy your plane ticket for next summer and come back. And that's what I was doing. And in 2019, myself, my two children, and my son-in-law, we decided to come for Christmas. And then we returned in January, and bam, 3 months later, the pandemic. And I just recall just thinking to myself, my God, like in a snap of your fingers, you're confined, you're quarantined, you have to wear a mask, vaccination. Your freedom is gone. Someone can just say, your freedom is gone. And for whatever reason, I just felt like, my God, like, am I going to be trapped here? Like, is this the way life is going to be forever? It was really scary because it's like someone else had the power to take away your freedom when they feel like it. And that's a scary concept to think that someone or a system has that power. And I said, if I needed to be confined, I don't think America is the place where I want to be confined in, because the quality of life to me is just not there. So, how did I end up in Grenada? I ended up here because in 2021, I came down and again stayed for that length of time, month or two. And I was like, I think I really could live here. Like I've become so accustomed to being here now. I think I really can do this. And when I went back home, I talked to my daughter about it and I said, I think I might come to Grenada to live because after, all this weird stuff is going on and I don't want to be confined in America. And by April of 2022, I put in my resignation. And by August of 22, I had sold my house in America, got rid of all my things, and I moved to Grenada. And I've been here ever since. And I don't regret it at all. I want to say to everyone that take a chance on yourself. Wherever you decide you may want to go, and you may decide to stay right where you are. And that's a whole other conversation that we have to have. But I just wanted to talk about my experience and why I chose to come to Grenada. And I'm going to say that it was the best decision that I ever made. And I could talk more about, how it's been, which I will. But I'm going to leave and say, guys, take a chance on yourself because you just never know.